The year is 2008. The forever dominant Welsh light heavyweight champion Joe Calzaghe is 45-0 and coming off back-to-back career-defining wins. First against the undefeated monster Mikkel Kessler.
It was too difficult when I had to throw some punches. It was difficult for me, but I tried everything.
And second against the ever difficult to pin down and bully Bernard Hopkins.
I'm the legend killer. I just finished Bernard Hopkins. I'm just having a good rest with my family right now, and I take some time out, and then we'll see what the next step is from there.
But now comes the final challenge of his career, a retirement fight against the matured former four-weight world champion Roy Jones Jr., a man akin to Superman in his prime, and a fighter who would always give it his all in the ring no matter the day or night it fell on.
This is absolutely preposterous. Richard Hall should not be taking these shots.
Welcome back to Boxing After Dark. Tonight is a special night where we'll be looking at a grand exit for one of Britain's most celebrated champions, and a last hurrah for one of America's greatest overall fighters and personality combos in sports history. Let's get into it. Roy Jones Jr. was in a strange era of his career. While initially planning to move up to heavyweight as a light heavyweight champ and beat Mike Tyson for a belt as a final farewell to boxing,
to do something that hasn't been done in 30-something years, a former middleweight champion come up and challenge for a heavyweight champion. A terrific fight. Everybody out there I know will want to see it because I would want to see it.
Mike sadly lost his belt to Evander Holyfield in a shock upset that in retrospect was really to be expected. It would become years before Roy finally moved up to the heavyweight division for his one and only fight, where instead of fighting Mike Tyson, he'd fight the not near as celebrated but still talented John Ruiz.
I don't care what nobody say. Larry Merchant, anybody, I am the baddest. They can say what they want to say. How many times have a man started as a junior middleweight and became the heavyweight champion of the world?
Roy, after fighting Ruiz and becoming a heavyweight champion, decided to return to where he felt more comfortable, the light heavyweight division. Famously, things were shaky from the moment he returned, having a close and slightly controversial win over Antonio Tarver.
There's a new face in boxing, and it's Antonio Tarver, the Magic Man.
And soon after getting knocked out by him, the Roy Jones everyone knew and loved didn't seem the same anymore. His speed, agility, and unpredictability had decreased. For 4 years after his dismantling by Tarver, Roy fought and lost with an occasional victory.
And a left hand, and he's on the canvas again for the second time in 2 fights.
I'm scared Roy Jones is going to die.
But just as it seemed Captain Hook had fizzled out as a fighter, a legend of the past, Félix Trinidad, came back for one more night of destruction after retiring 3 years earlier. Roy Jones ran with the opportunity to fight a legend who he never got to fight, and he won. Chasing greatness like he always did as a young and unmatchable talent, Roy challenged Joe Calzaghe for the Ring Magazine light heavyweight title to become a champion in this division again, almost 10 years after vacating it would be the ultimate finale to an explosive career. And that's what Jones intended on doing.
So now I'm fighting one of the best fighters has been, and I'm really excited to put my skills against Roy's, and like he said, November the 8th, we'll see who's the best.
Joe Calzaghe, despite being a bodacious fighter in the ring and a tough cookie to break, was a surprisingly introverted and humble fighter during interviews and press conferences. Often this led to his opponents needing to sell the fight to fans. But by the time Joe had reached 40-0, his record and ride-or-die fans could sell any battle for him.
I'd just love to say thanks to the fans, all the fans that come and see me. I love you all. Thank you so much.
While Roy's signature style was made up of his superhuman reflexes, movement speed, and off-kilter movement that led to many opponents slipping up and leaving themselves open for a beautiful counter, Calzaghe's specialty was his magnificent hand speed that, when lined up with the fastest boxers of all time, still managed to stand out. On the 8th of November in 2008, the big night finally occurred. The referee recounts the rules. The future Hall of Famers touch gloves out of respect, and the bout begins.
Rarely have two fighters more visibly projected confidence before the opening bell. 38 knockouts in 52 wins for Jones. A counter right hand. Calzaghe knows that Jones is quicker in the center of the ring, and down goes Calzaghe. Just as he was down in the first round against Hopkins, he's down in the first round against Jones. And Jones makes his point. Much more badly hurt than against Hopkins. And fighting rather than trying to get away. and he goes forward, waiting in.
But this is not something that Jones likes to do, so he may end up, if he doesn't stop Calzaghe, getting in trouble himself. I think he's probably been down about 4 times in fights. And at this stage right now still, the fight is like, to me, a toss-up fight. It could go either way.
Come on, let go, let go, let go. But can he do it over the long stretch of the fight if Calzaghe can make it go round? And here's what will hurt Jones most if it keeps up. And Calzaghe seems to have his legs under him now and a greater ability to withstand what Jones throws. Jones lands another right-hand shot. Jones backing into the ropes and giving Calzaghe a chance to just throw away in a fight in which he hopes to dominate the second half of the fight. Good body shot by Calzaghe.
It's not just, he's a big man. You know, it's very, very difficult to just take punches from a tall guy like that.
Calzaghe showboating in the center of the ring.
Roy's punches are much more flashier and much more powerful.
Calzaghe taking Jones's punches much better now. Round 1, and that he can swamp Jones with punch count from here. He has dominated round 3.
To me, outside of the first round, he's won, even though
having fallen behind in the first and maybe the second rounds.
And I think that the fact that Joe can do this all night.
Just kept building the tempo.
He's beaten Roy in every way at this point here.
Good hard right hand by Jones.
With his hands down. And maybe show Roy that he doesn't respect his power.
Good straight left hand by Calzaghe. 3 right hands to the body.
What he wants to do at this stage right now. I can't believe how he's dropping his hands to get away with that with Roy Jones.
Away. Joe hasn't landed anything really solid upstairs in a while.
Throwing punches, but he cannot hit Calzaghe.
There's a hard right hand by Jones.
Yeah, that's his way of trying to make Calzaghe get tired.
Calzaghe lands a big left hand.
Yep.
Now the round belongs to the Welshman.
Yep.
Jones lands a left off the ropes.
Tough round.
And Calzaghe tries to nail it down with a flurry at the finish. Jones with one more big counter shot. Calzaghe with a 12-0 edge in jabs. Jones had his moments in that round, but as you see, Harold Letterman gave it to Calzaghe.
Doesn't look like it's having a tremendous effect on Joe.
Of making mid-fight adjustments to turn the tactical equation in his favor. Takes a big uppercut there. More tactical, more selective here at the beginning of round 7.
There were opportunities for Roy to win.
And Joe Calzaghe is coming straight through with that 1-2.
And
good
so
counter left by Jones, another one.
Punches with sharp, clean punches. And
solid left hand by Calzaghe, follows it up with a couple of body shots. Roy may be momentarily hurt.
He's hurt. Straight left.
Blood above the left eye of Roy Jones.
But I've never saw him knocked out until they got knocked out by Tarver.
Calzaghe showboating again and staring at Jones and watching the blood flow and going back to work.
And all this said, this kind of pressure, Tarver at the time was not considered this kind of fighter. The Tarver fights in this third fight, there was a kind of a concession on Roy's part. I don't see him conceding here.
By round 8, the fight becomes challenging to watch, as Roy's eye is well and truly busted up and bleeding. Calzaghe continues to throw short, fast hands that have Roy Jones in disbelief and force him to change the game plan by lifting his hands in a feeble attempt to defend himself.
He's swamping Jones with activity and willpower and desire.
And Roy can punch with both hands.
But it's Joe who's doing the punching and Roy who's having to cover up.
And if they're between rounds, they've had time to go ahead and find someone else, another trainer, and get some coagulants or something.
Well, he's always done it his way. 5 previous appearances in Madison Square Garden, he won them all. As in a boxing ring. Calzaghe begins the 10th round with a couple of body shots. So the Jones corner believes they're doing all the right things. Bottom line is they have not been effective in stopping the bleeding. And Jones is badly compromised in the ring.
Good stamina. It's very, very difficult to right there. See, he pulls back. And He'd always be a threat for Roy. You know, this guy, I think, would have been a problem always.
And Jones is now talking full time. Impossible to tell what he's saying, but he's talking to Calzaghe the whole time. Probably something to the effect of, you can't knock me out. Reference to LaMotta versus Sugar Ray Robinson. And the line was,
Roy's going to have to do the upending if he hopes to win. So far, maybe he's thrown, that's maybe his second punch of the round.
Crowd wants Jones to try to do something. They should be thrilled that he's shown such courage as to finish the fight.
His respect from the fans still.
Yeah, but what would enhance it even more, I think, is if in this last 45 seconds, he at least gave the impression that he was going all out to win.
This is for what might be the last time in the ring for both men.
Round 12 finally sees the end of the bout after an hour of grueling battle between two champions.
118, 109, still light heavyweight champion.
While Roy Jones already knew in his heart he'd received no victory, as did his fans, he stayed happy through failure and congratulated Joe Calzaghe for being one hell of a fighter.
I came, I did my best, I gave my all. Joe fought a smarter fight than me tonight. He's the better man tonight.
Roy Jones would return to the ring just 6 months later and snag a respectable knockout over the decent contender Omar Sheikha.
And a good stoppage by Tommy Gibbons.
And while this form wouldn't stay for long, fans of Roy Jones Jr. could never be disheartened and would always root for their great role model and fighter.
But for me, man, I'm game. I go to the end. When I put these on, it's a wrap. Take me on the stretcher.
In the years following his retirement, Joe Calzaghe has stayed relatively unseen from the public eye. And despite a brief stint with addiction following his years of fighting, Calzaghe has remained a national treasure for Wales and Britain as a whole, being one of the few retired undefeated champions in boxing history.
I know it sounds like a cliche and a bit corny, but it's my destiny. Yeah, man, it's my destiny. What can I say? You know, me and Dad, well, it's our destiny, so proud.